and welcome to the What's Your Story podcast. I'm Missy Day.
And I am Michelle Hausbeck.
And with us today is our special guest, Francesca Gilbert. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. Hi, everyone.
So today we have Francesca here. And how do you know us, Francesca?
Oh, it's always a connection story, I think. So I met you through our mutual friend, Janelle, who is really, truly the connector. And I am fortunate enough to have been able to be part of the What's Your Story training group for Speaker Bureau. And it was such a fortuitous and unexpected connection, but it's turned out to be honestly one of the most amazing and super cool events that I've gotten to participate in. And I met Michelle through What's Your Story as well. So really, I think really the storytelling has connected me to everybody at the table and that we're friends with.
Very cool. And how do you know us?
How long you got? No. Well, it's interesting because I told a little bit of my brand story earlier this week, and Missy is part of it. And it's funny because she's a business coach, or she used to be a business coach. It's kind of shifted to faith-based coaching and storytelling now. But I was gifted a session with her back in 2017, and I ignored her for probably a good month. Mm-hmm. But she kept on calling, thank goodness. And it's just, the rest has been history, and my life has forever changed.
Aww. Well, and we have our producer that we want to recognize, Jason Gardner, and we all know him because of storytelling as well, through a mutual friend, Kim Snyder. So we're all connected in ways, like you're saying, mainly because of story, which I think is awesome.
Yeah.
So you're part of the Speaker Academy, and what would you say, you're nearing the end, you're almost close to graduation, what would you say is your biggest takeaway from the Speaker Academy?
Wow, okay. Biggest takeaway would be that you should never judge something without really going through it. And what I mean by that is my initial reaction, and you and I talked about this, was that it really didn't fit into my wheelhouse of how I thought, of what I thought I needed to learn. I had done a lot of training. I had done a lot of speaking. And I would normally have said, yeah, I'm not really that interested. Thanks so much, though. It's been really great chatting with you. And something made me say, yeah, that's not the right answer this time. And I'm glad I did, because what I learned was that I was an unconscious incompetent in the storytelling world. I did not know what I did not know. And this has really brought my storytelling into my speaking versus bringing my training into my speaking. Mm-hmm. And all I mean by that is that I've learned to tell what's happened and really want to share, as opposed to trying to teach something to someone. Mm-hmm. And to me, that's been it's been really impactful. So I think never say no to something. I mean, I'm going to go with the Madagascar theory here. The answer is always yes, unless a no is required, and rarely is a no required. And that's the big takeaway I have from What's Your Story, because the Speaker Academy really is so much more and so different than what I thought it was going to be when I read the syllabus online or syllabus on paper. So that's my biggest takeaway.
That's awesome. Thank you. And you bring up a good point, because oftentimes we'll hear from people and they'll say, oh, I'm a trainer, I don't need to learn how to be a speaker. And it's like, well, but the thing is there's a difference between a speaker and a trainer.
I agree. I really agree. And I think, in your job, you might be a trainer, or maybe you're I'm going to use the word instructor, meaning, even when you review something with someone, your intent may be to explain. That's so different than trying to get the group of people to whom you're speaking to really feel what you're feeling. It's worlds apart, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. And again, I didn't know that I needed to learn that, but I did, and it's been a pretty awesome journey going through that.
It's interesting because I went through the academy as well a couple years ago, but one of my big takeaways was and we kind of touched on it when you spoke Monday, as you know, I stand up and speak and do presentations and all the things, right? Like you've done it for years. But when you get up and tell your story, right, it's a whole different mind shift. But what I noticed was the storytelling aspect started to come into the business
Agreed.
stuff, whether it's a personal story about myself or a story about a client, whatever, but people just resonate more with the storytelling piece. Have you found that happening?
I have, and I think so. I'm a realtor by trade, I guess that's the word. But that's what I do for my day job. So I've always kind of told examples, right, of something that's happened with other clients. But I've always used it more as I think a teaching. Now, when I talk about other situations, it's much more emotional and much more to connect. So it's really a different level of incorporating things that have happened. And I do find that I want to share what transpired, but not in a boom, boom, boom kind of way, in a more like, here's what happened. And oh, by the way, let me tell you about these amazing people that I met as a result. And it's really made me really love real estate even more than I have. I mean, I've been doing it for, gosh, it'll be 37 years in September. And with any business, it ebbs and flows how much you like it. But really kind of wrapping my head around the storytelling has made me appreciate not only my job and my clients, quote unquote, because they're really just friends that buy and sell houses, but it's really made me appreciate understanding and learning different facets and being able to communicate that to people. And I think everything is a story. Even when you talk to your kids, even when you're at the grocery store talking to the clerk, it's a story. It's a story about either what happened to you or what's happening to them. And I think as we learn to tell stories, we learn to listen to stories better. And at least that's what I found, that I'm more cognizant of the fact that everybody has a story. And it's super cool to hear it and to go, oh, I didn't know that. Wow, that's great. And you get more info. You get details about people that you didn't know because you didn't allow someone else the opportunity to share their story. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So that's what I found.
Well, Francesca is going to be speaking at StoryFest on September 13th at Powerhouse Church. And I'm so excited for you to experience that part of What's Your Story.
I've seen lots of different, posts about it, and it looks intense in the best way possible.
This will be your first one, right?
My first one,
Yeah.
yes, it will. I was luckily for me, I was in Italy during the other one, or on the tail end of Italy. So this will be my first attendance at StoryFest and my first speaking at StoryFest, and I'm looking forward to it because I think, again, it's something I think I told you the same thing, Missy. When you gave me the date, I was like, oh, I have another event. Kind of have to do that. And then I thought, you know what? Actually, I'm going to do the opposite of what I would normally do. And what I would normally have done was attended the real estate event. And I'm not going to do that. I'm going to do something totally different and do StoryFest instead, because I think what I have to learn there is going to be far more important than what I could learn at a real estate event. No offense to my career, but So.
So let's talk about your career. So who is your client that you look for selling houses?
So, really over the years, I work with people who buy and people who sell. I've really been very, very fortunate in my career. I have truly had so many people come into my life that have turned out to be not clients, or started as clients, but ended up as people I love dearly, that are part of my world, and many of them my immediate world. I walk on Fridays with one of my clients who happens to live down the street. As you know from the story I tell, I have a client that literally saved my life. And I really look for people that want someone to help them get to where they need to be, but don't want to do the paperwork of real estate or don't want to do the job of real estate. Most people have their own job that they're incredibly good at. And the last thing you need to do is then have to learn how to do another job that really isn't, not saying you couldn't be good at it, but it isn't your skill set or it isn't your wheelhouse. So, the kind of clients I think that I attract are folks who really appreciate knowing that somebody has their back. I joke with people that I'm an advocate. I'm not a real estate salesperson. I don't know if that's a joke, but the joke part is that I will draw my sword and fight. And I feel like that's a pretty strong analogy because I really believe that it is my job to represent whomever I'm working for. And, while I don't want to draw blood necessarily, I'm not afraid to draw the sword and stand there with it and go, hey, I don't think you want to fight me. I'm small, but I'm scrappy, that kind of thing.
Mama bear.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah. And only in the sense of, if someone's hired me to do a job, I mean, I should do that job. If I'm not doing that job, I shouldn't get paid. I shouldn't be hired. So I take it pretty seriously. And, I really enjoy it. Again, not every day is perfect in any job. And real estate has certainly had its ups and downs. But what I have found is that the people that have come into my life have all come into my life for a reason. Very much so. I can go back lots of years and go, oh, I remember that person. I met them because of someone else. And I still can feel the connections threading through my career and my life. So I would say, to answer your question, what I'm looking for in a client is someone who wants someone to really have their back in real estate. Like I'm like the cop. I'm on your six. So that's what my job is.
Well, I see some of your videos sometime, and you list like beautiful big houses.
Sometimes I do, yes. So I am, however, the every person realtor. When I started in real estate in 1988, the median sales price I think was $86,000. So I grew up in an era where there weren't houses for sale that were millions of dollars, and I've helped people. I joke, my daughter was talking to me yesterday. She was helping me with a database project, meaning she's doing the work, thank goodness. And she goes, oh, this person bought 5 houses from you. And I said, he did. And it was during the foreclosure crisis. And I remember him showing up at a condo that was worth less than the car he was driving.
Wow.
And so I've sold, I think the cheapest unit I've ever sold was $29,000.
Oh my word.
And, and then the most expensive is just under $4 million. So I have a broad range. And my theory is that everybody deserves a good realtor.
Yeah.
There's no price point. I mean, I know some realtors, work the luxury market or, whatever they want to call it. I work the everybody needs help market.
Good.
And that's important to me because, what if my daughter goes to, she lives in DC. What if she's trying to buy something and she only wants to spend $400,000? And in DC, that's not very much at all. And what if she can't find a realtor to help her?
Right.
That's not your job is to represent people. Your job isn't to represent people only if you can make, a ton of money. That's not the description. The description is to help people.
Yeah.
Or at least my description is to help people. So I think I enjoy all facets. And I find that most people, regardless of their price point, are so grateful to just have somebody in their corner who really cares about their success and, being able to, again, get them to where they need to be, whether it's to sell a house or to buy a house. But to me, that's very, very important. And I think that's part of the reason I've been able to, stay in business 37 years later, is that it's really a big deal to me to help people.
Right.
And to try to be of service.
Awesome. So if somebody needs a great realtor, how do they get a hold of you?
Oh, super easy. I'm Googleable. That's my new favorite word, Googleable. So here, I'll do my 10-second commercial. Hi, I'm Francesca Gilbert. I'm a realtor with BHHS Nevada Properties. So I work for Berkshire Hathaway as the umbrella company, although I do own Francesca Gilbert Real Estate. And although Warren Buffett has never invited me to his house for a barbecue, which I'm truly offended by, I would be tons of fun, I think. I still love the company, and I think it's been a great company. I've been with them for 37 years. So my entire real estate career has been at the same company. I can be reached at 702 373-7221. I answer my phone. So unless you've put a scam likely tag on your phone, I will answer your call. You can text me. It's the easiest way to get hold of me. And I'm on social media. You can look it up, Francesca Gilbert Real Estate. I'm on Facebook and Instagram. And I mean, if you looked this morning, you probably saw a picture of my dog and my coffee cup because it's also important to know that, you know, your realtor's a person and really understands the joy of sitting outside in their backyard and wants to do the same.
Right.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So have you asked Warren if you could come over? I
You
mean,
know,
you need to ask.
I've never met Warren, which is really unfortunate. They're having this event in Omaha in a couple of weeks. And honestly, if it weren't the week of my big birthday bash, I would think about attending, but I don't want to spend my birthday in Omaha, I decided. So.
Yeah.
But Warren, if you're listening, I'm available for a barbecue at your house. So.
I'm sure he watches our podcast.
I know
If
he
not,
does.
he should. You know,
He's liking it right
hashtag
now.
Warren Buffett. So.
Well, thank you, Francesca, for joining us today. It's been fun to have you. I think you're super fun all the time.
Thank you.
So join us for our next podcast and have a great day.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.